Hello and welcome to the Radical Podcast, inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root. We explore the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
This season is all about divination, tarot, and the power held within our intuition. This is The Radical with Nicole and Christina, the two metaphysical girls in the material world.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Radical Podcast. I'm Christina.
And I'm Nicole.
This week, we're covering the Magician tarot card. I'm going to get started right away with the list. I'm going to talk about a few of the different names this card has. I think we all have heard of the Magician, the Magnus, which is related to the word magician. Have you seen any called the Juggler or like a juggler on the card?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk more about where that connects in history. And then the Mont Bank, which is sort of similar to a juggler, kind of similar to a court gesture. It's the French word for that, where they're wearing like opposing colors in the triangle shape.
Mm-hmm.
And in this context, meaning a person who deceives others, especially in order to trick them out of their money, or a charlatan. That's like the definition of a Mont Bank, a Mont Bank. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that word, French, but that has to do with the history of the magician. And did any others stand out to you in your research?
I saw the Alchemist.
Yes. One of my cards actually uses the Alchemist too. Listeners, this is card number 1, because the Fool is 0. The element is air, and I have heard some schools of thought say ether or space, but out of the 4 elements that we're talking about, air. Is this card a yes or no? It's a yes. You have everything you need. The zodiac sign associated with this card, because the card's planet is Mercury, it's associated with Gemini and Virgo. That's why we're talking about this card during Virgo season. And the planet associated with this card is Mercury for communication, intellect, travel, commerce, adaptability, learning, thought, and interests, among a few of the associations with Mercury. The house associated with this card is tied to its ruling planet, or the planet associated with it. And Mercury rules the 3rd house with Gemini and the 6th house with Virgo. Crystals. Citrine for manifestation, creativity, personal power. And have you seen this before, that it's traditionally called the merchant stone?
No. That's interesting.
I remember working in a shop that had a citrine over the door to attract business. I've seen that at least one other time. And also for me, this card has a lot of yellow energy to it. So citrine totally made sense to me. And if you have any other crystals you think go with the magician, just email us and tell us. Correspondences, the Hebrew letter is Beth or bite or beat. And the symbol is a little house, or the symbolism of it is a house, but it's also related to the shape of the letter. And meaning for its association with the tarot card is creativity. But like I said, literally this shape and that Hebrew letter is house, dwelling, and specifically tent, but also meaning in or within. So you may see that as you're researching that Hebrew letter. In the tree of life, this is the second pathway between Kether, the crown or unity, and Binah, which is understanding, insight, and sometimes experience. It indicates practical magic and singular direction. All right, chakra. The palm chakras. This is one of the not 7 chakras, because I think I mentioned I'm only really familiar with the 7 main chakras. And I've heard of a few other ones, but I've definitely heard of the palm chakras more. And the palm chakras sometimes are referred to as hand chakras. These are energy centers in the palms and in the fingertips that play a significant role in spiritual energy and spiritual energy healing. We know that the hands connect to the heart, so that are connected to the heart chakra, and it facilitates the flow of energy for giving and receiving. Generally, the left hand is the receiving hand, and the right hand is the projecting hand or the giving hand, right? Yeah, receiving and giving. And as a note, if you're interested, listeners, there's a lot of good information on the palm chakras and the other elements associated with the fingertips and the hand. And Nicole, we should do a podcast on palmistry, because I have now 3 outlines of my hand with notes written all over it, where I keep
Ooh,
finding
fun.
different connections. Yeah. So listen for that in the future, listeners, or look for that in the future, listeners. The thumb is Mars, and it's fire and the solar plexus. The Jupiter finger, which is your index finger, is the air and the heart chakra. Wait, am I saying this right? Yeah, air and the heart chakra. Saturn finger is your middle finger, and that's the ether throat chakra. The sun is your ring finger. Earth, associated with the root chakra. Mercury is the pinky finger, the smallest finger, and that is water and sacral chakra. The palm, the center of your palm, is the third eye. And the wrist is the crown. Isn't that an interesting way to look at that? So just a little bit to get your thoughts flowing around the chakras in the hands and in the fingertips. But that, after I read that author tying the palm chakras to the magician, and then as we're going to talk more about the magician, to me, it totally fits.
In my Qigong course, we practiced feeling our chi, feeling our energy,
Mm.
our life force by making my instructor called them chi balls. And so you would kind of hold an invisible tennis ball between the palms of your hands, and then you could begin stretching it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and feeling sort of the tension, almost the
You
invisible
can feel it.
tension. And this, I think, I also did this in a Reiki training course. We did a similar exercise to feel the chi between our palms. And one of my tarot card representations is the magician holding what looks like a chi ball.
Nice. Oh, I love it when we start making connections. And I've done that in my Reiki trainings, made a Reiki ball. And it is such a fascinating feeling. And it gives me such a feeling of empowerment when I'm led through that exercise. Because to me, knowing that that energy is right there, literally at our fingertips and in the palm of our hands, is so empowering to know that and to feel that. Some of the symbols associated with this card. The first one, and these are very, there's lots of other symbols, listeners, that you may see. I'm going to hit some of the main ones. And one of the main ones is tools. There's tools in these cards, depicted in these cards, either in the hands of one of the character or around the character. A lot of times the tools are symbolizing the other elements or the other suits, or other, we go back into the history, it's actual physical tools of craftsmen, but the tools represent your skills and abilities. The hand gesture of the main character in the Rider Waite Smith deck, with one hand gesturing up and one hand gesturing down, inspiration and manifestation, and also the connection between worlds. And that also has to do with Mercury, because Mercury was the messenger and can travel between worlds, travel between planes of existence.
And I'll use the word conduit a couple times later in my notes, and one hand pointing up, one down brings to mind that being a conduit of spirit, of
Mhm.
your creative power, of manifestation.
I like it. There's an infinity symbol in the Rider Waite Smith deck, and also my other decks have some infinity symbol in it. An infinity symbol is, or it means creation. And I have a little note here, the infinity symbol above the head of the character in the Rider Waite Smith deck signifies the cyclical nature of energy. Also, the connection between the divine and humanity. And we also have roses for spiritual awakening and devotion. Lilies, purity, rebirth, and new beginnings. The Ouroboros, which is the snake biting the end of its tail, an ancient symbol of transformation and renewal, and also that cyclical energy. And then two colors stand out to me. Well, and then I thought about white, but red, yellow, and white. I see this as a very yellow card to me. Red for vitality and action, yellow for energy and manifestation and also clear sight. The white, purity, and like I said, purity and rebirth. Those are some of the main symbols from the Rider Waite Smith deck. But then also a lot of the symbols are in my very new and modern decks too. And the colors echo as well. Themes. As above, so below. That connection between, you know, different planes of existence, different planes of thought, being the messenger, like the Mercury, in between, being the conduit that Nicole just said. But there is an element of what you create in this realm will be echoed in another realm. And that is tied to that Mercury, the messenger, moving between worlds. There's also an element of a quickness, right? There's like an action, quickness, energy, movement, do something now theme with this card. And one of the other ones, specifically tied to the history, is the manipulation of items or tools with the hands of the character, or in the space of where the character is. And to me, depending on how you relate to this card, to me, I'm relating to the character of me creating, of me manifesting, is how I see this card. And you may see it different, listeners, but know that there is a theme of manipulation, of use of hands to do something. And it doesn't mean your physical hands, it could, but it means using your tools, your skills, your abilities to create and to manifest. Those are the themes, the main themes of the card. I'm going to touch a little on history. In the 15th century, the earliest magician cards were not about magic, but they depicted that mountebank, that mountebank, that juggler, that trickster, that street performer, charlatan. Like that was the first images, the first association with that card. It did often show tools with that character, and they could have been cups, they could have been pens, they could have been like sponges. There was one that was a cobbler that had the cobbler's tools, and they were interpreted sometimes as the tools of a scholar. Or they could have been transcribing thoughts, and also like creating order from chaos. So it started as a street performer, juggler, trickster, somebody who, in my mind, was very much in control of the elements around them. And maybe they were using them to trick or to deceive others, but it shows somebody who was in control of what they were presenting.
Manipulation.
Manipulation. The Italian name for the card, Il Bagato, means juggler. And the Italian style was showing a humble street performer with simple instruments like the cups and the balls, and sometimes literally juggling, but still somebody who was manipulating items to project a image or to project what they wanted you to see. That's it in a nutshell. They were projecting something that they wanted you to see. Later in the 17th and the 20th century, the tarot de Paris in the early 17th century depicted the magician's predecessor, L'abattoir, entertaining onlookers. So they were, again, in the area of the street entertainment, street performer. It wasn't until the Rider-Waite-Smith deck developing the magician as a master of magic. Now, I want to say a little note about magic, M-A-G-I-C, and magic, M-A-G-I-K. And I think most of us have seen the difference. The primary difference is magic, or stage magic, refers to entertainment through illusions and tricks, right? But magic with the K, or true magic, is a term popularized by Aleister Crowley, who was initiated into the Order of the Golden Dawn in November of 1998, or 1898, just a couple years ago. And it was Aleister Crowley who denoted the serious spiritual occult practice of manipulating energies and changing reality to align with one's will. So again, the use of tools, of elements to create and to project what you wanted to project. So the journey of this card is fascinating. It may change the way you look at this card. It may give this card a little more meaning to you, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to mean anything to you. It's just a note on, the steps that the magician took to get to us today and how it's continuing to evolve. Even now, when we get to card comparison, we've got authors who are doing spins on this card right now.
In a couple weeks, we have our episode on the Kabbalah, and
Mm,
I had at this point, when we decided to do that episode, I was very intimidated because I truly knew nothing, and I had a lot of misconceptions about what the Kabbalah was and what it meant and where it came from.
yeah.
And I've been reading a book, and there's a lot of Kabbalistic and Hebrew alphabet influence on Aleister Crowley and the
Mm-hmm.
Golden Dawn, and that really informed their tarot card
Yeah.
meanings and interpretations. So that is an element of why that card evolved.
Mm-hmm. The modern deck was created by people. And it does have a lot of importance and a lot of spiritual meaning, but we do need to understand where it came from so that we can understand the deck better. But I know I had a lot of assumptions about the tarot deck as well. And not a week goes by, Nicole, that you and I aren't like, what? This is where this came from. This is where, this is the history of this. That I mean, I love learning it, and it doesn't change the way I feel. More information is just more information. It's what we do with it that is, what we do with it is how we create what we want. Yeah.
The numerology for this card, being that it's a 1, we have the energy of manifestation and setting clear intentions, asking, receiving, believing, and relaxing. That was part of a title from one of our past podcasts. So it's two sides of the same coin, manifesting, but having on the other side of the coin those clear intentions set. The magician archetype has an understanding of co-creating with the universe, or what is called The Field of Infinite Organizing Power in the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And in that book, Deepak Chopra says the field of infinite organizing power can orchestrate an infinity of details for you. On the Magician card, we have the infinity symbol, and there's this understanding with the Magician archetype of how to use that field of infinite organizing power for manifesting our clear set intentions. There is a sense of new beginnings with the number 1, placing our energy and our focus looking forwards and leaving the past in the past. With 1, there is also, as Christina mentioned, this sense of taking action and doing something. This isn't really a passive card. We are asked to co-create, to participate in the manifestation of that which we seek or that which we want. We have to do something. We have to be a participant. The number 1 also suggests steady progress, 1 day at a time, 1 thing at a time, 1 step at a time. It is a card of action and doing, but it's not a card of or a number of doing everything all at once. It's dreaming big, but not expecting ourselves to do all the work in 1 day or 1 week. There is a bigger picture, and the number 1 is about kind of chipping away at our dreams and making that steady progress. The 1 encourages us to do our best, do whatever task is before us to the best of our ability, and if we're not sure what that is, to do the next right thing the best way that we can, even if that's getting up and washing the dishes in our sink. It brings to mind slow and steady wins the race, because when we're working slowly and methodically, we're usually doing things kind of properly and correctly. We're not having to go backwards and correct mistakes because we were rushing. The energy of 1 is all about unblocking our energetic dams, letting things flow, even if it's a teeny tiny small step. And the 1 also communicates the importance of maintaining a fresh attitude and perspective so that we stay inspired and stay interested in what we're working on. And this kind of brings to mind, we've talked in previous podcasts about manifestation, but this is doing things like changing up our routine, taking a different route to work, going to a different coffee shop, keeping things fresh, maintaining our inspired flow state. Word comparisons. So these cards are just all great. Starting with my Zodiac tarot deck, we can see in the night sky behind the Magician the constellations for Gemini and Virgo. This is where Mercury is domiciled. Our Magician on this card is holding a wand. There's a snake coiled around the wand. And I looked this up. This is not the symbol with 2 snakes around like a wand or a stick with the wings. That caduceus is associated with Mercury, Hermes, and medicine. This wand with 1 serpent or snake is actually associated to the Greek. I think he's a demigod of medicine and the healing arts.
Nice.
In my Medicine Woman Tarot, this card is named Resources rather than the Magician. We have a figure dressed in white, sort of ceremonial looking clothing, kneeling before her tools. And her tools are the suits and the elemental representations for this deck, which are the bowls, pipes, arrows, and stones in this deck. Her hands are extended upwards towards the sky, but the sky, instead, what's behind her is this sort of color wheel with yellows, oranges, and purples. And within each sliver of this color wheel, we see different sort of natural imagery, like a deer, a bear, a forest, crescent moons, a sun reflected in a body of water, forests, and swirly wisps of
Mm.
air. And to me, this speaks of the manifestation energy of the magician. We have the tools and the earthly symbols sort of bringing things, what we think of, into tangible reality. It is said the earth element consolidates and integrates the other elements by harmonizing, crystallizing, and grounding them, giving them substance and stability. My Antique Anatomy tarot deck shows us an image of a spinal cord in the shape of an infinity symbol. There's a hand reaching up through the infinity symbol, and in sort of the lower half or the bottom circle of the infinity symbol, there's just the muscle, bone, and tissues of the hand. And then in the upper half, the hand and fingers have skin and nails. So this to me is communicating this energy of creation and manifestation being a process, which makes our inner world and takes what we envision on the inside and reflects it externally and on the outside. Red is the predominant color that we see on this card. It's used to color the muscular tissue as well as the red flowers blooming around the infinity symbol. And this red color matches the magician's robe as well as the roses in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And then lastly, my Mystic Mondays tarot card shows a figure with an infinity symbol crown, and the figure gently holds an ethereal ball of chi energy or pure potentiality. And in this chi ball, there are two shiny crystals in the middle of the ball, which gives us a sense of crystallizing the elements into reality.
And for my decks, for the magician, the Spirit Song Tarot has the number 1, the magician, using a raven and the 2 words willpower and creation. I think the raven is a very interesting choice here. Spiritually, the raven symbolizes change and transformation, wisdom, magic, and the connection, sometimes a mysterious connection between the physical and spiritual realms. Ravens were another messenger symbol in multiple cultures. So the raven there is really telling. And there's an infinity symbol above the raven's head in the card as well. For the Wild Unknown Tarot, the card name is the Magician. The keywords are self-empowerment and action. And there is a cat, what looks to me like a cheetah. The author has it as a wildcat, and the note they have is embrace the wildcat. The wildcat here symbolizing speed, grace, ability, and action. For me, looking at this card, I see a cheetah. And the cheetah spiritually symbolizes speed, agility, grace, but also focused action. It represents pursuing goals with speed and precision. And if you've ever seen a cheetah hunting or chasing, they are locked in on their vision and their body is moving all over and their tail is steering them, but they never lose sight of their their goal. Secrets of the Witch's Garden has this as Roman numeral 1, also called the Magician. And the keyword the author put here is mastery. The image of this card is very inspired and echoes closely the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. In this card, the witch is in a white robe. And the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the magician is also in a white robe but has a red shawl over it. In the Secrets of the Witch's Garden, the witch has red hair. She has a red ruby at her third eye point, and her Ouroboros belt is red. So it still has a lot of that red energy.
The
There's an
hair in my Mystic Mondays deck is also red.
yeah.
So just,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, the red can be symbolized in, and there's also red roses in the Secret of the Witch's Garden. So look for colors as symbols everywhere on the cards, listeners. There's an image of a fox, a lizard, a cat, and a spider. The author says that these can represent the four elements, the four directions, also the four corners of our reality. There are also roses and red roses and white lilies, like I said, echoing the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And in this card, the infinity symbol above the witch's head is being created by ivy tendrils, which is incredibly beautiful to me. And this image, the witch is outside in front of an ancient tree surrounded by wildlife. And I just want that life. I want the vibe of this card for my everyday life. In the Sacred She, it is card number 1, Roman numeral 1, and the author has named this card Alchemy. It's like Nicole said earlier, the alchemist. The 4 elements are represented, or even the 5 elements are represented in colors with images on the background of this card, from the fire to the earth to the water to the clouds to the dark night sky. Very beautiful, very beautiful card. And there's a character in the middle in a beautiful flowy red robe, one hand with a sword pointing down, and one hand above their head holding onto an eagle. So that is the connection between the above and below, as above and below, using the eagle to represent that higher level of consciousness and the sword pointing down to represent that connection into our subconscious, or their connection down into the earth. The sword is cutting through a geometric shape, and in the author's where the author had listed the meaning, they called the shape a tangential, like a tangent, a tangential. A tangent is a straight line that touches a curve at a single point. We say that someone who starts talking about one thing and gets sidetracked, going off on a tangent. This tangential, with the sword cutting through it, is a symbol of the character, you or me or Nicole, cutting through all the sidetrack, getting focused and being a master of those thoughts, of those tangents. I think that is, I love the magician card. It was one of the first cards. I'll talk a little bit more about it, but the imagery in these cards after doing this research has just really opened my eyes so much more about paying attention to all the different features that the illustrators and the authors have put on their cards. It is so cool. I'm
And
having a
because
lot of fun.
this is an air element and the
Mhm.
sword is cutting through the
Yes.
tangent. I could say it in my head, but the sword is cutting through it. So this makes me think about, like, if we have a busy mind and if we're unclear in our mind, we can't set a clear intention and we cannot manifest. So that piercing with the sword through the tangents in our mind, our busy thinking, our brainstorms, is
Yeah.
Wow.
We have to be focused. We have to know what we're trying to create. If we don't know what we're trying to manifest, or if we're not focused on what we're trying to manifest, we're not going to manifest it. So, yeah, beautiful, beautiful, powerful cards.
Putting it all together, I have some notes here on meanings, readings, and interpretations. So this card is as we have kind of said, and we're building up to this idea of harnessing and manipulating creative forces. And the word manipulating is tricky. I have a note here because I wanted to pause because in our modern world, I think manipulation has a negative connotation. It
Mm-hmm.
is associated with the behavior of individuals controlling other people, playing mind games. It sort of brings us back to that historical trickster.
Exactly. Exactly.
But for centuries, the word manipulation was neutral or even positive, and it simply meant to handle skillfully, like manipulating tools or machinery or even mathematical figures. If you see a chiropractor, they are going to manually manipulate your spine. So just a note on manipulation. I think with the magician, you could maybe in its shadow side read into the negative connotations, but generally speaking, I think this handle skillfully is what the card is communicating,
Mm-hmm.
especially right side up.
Mm-hmm.
Power of the four elements combined with their connection to the divine. That came from my guided tarot guidebook. So we want to remember with the hand pointing up that we are doing this in cooperation with your potentiality with the universe, creating abundance and prosperity in the physical realm because we are acting as a conduit or a channel. We're bridging the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual and the material worlds. And then making good use of available resources. This made me think about the baza and harmonizing our elementals. Are we using our resources effectively, or are we wasting our resources? Are we using the appropriate resource for the task at hand? I know I talk a lot about swords and air energy, but a lot of the time, my solution is not to think about something more. My solution is balancing my elementals and probably going outside to take a walk and getting some earth energy. So, thinking about what is available to us and using those elements, those resources, those energetics effectively. And then the magician card also gives us the meaning of discipline, diligence, and focus. Single pointed concentration, also known as one pointedness or samadhi in Eastern
Mm-hmm.
traditions, is a mental discipline. And this is Mercury's realm, right? The mind. And this practice is where the mind is focused entirely on a single object or a sensation. Very much like meditation, focusing on the breath, perhaps to achieve deep calm and to quell distractions. Very helpful if you have a lot of brainstorms, a lot of ideas, thoughts, competing priorities, a lot of mental tangents.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Magician card also reminds us that we have a lot of natural and innate talents and gifts, that it is likely that we have all that we need to begin to work towards our dreams. And then for reversals, I have a few quick notes on reversals in general. So if reversals are new to you or you're not using them, they could mean the energy is on the way. It's just not available yet. It's not a no, it's not a yes. It's like a not yet. Stay in the energy of the outcome. Live like the person who has succeeded and attained the thing. Like last season when we talked about how does the me who has $1 million, for an example, or who has succeeded at this goal, how does she drink her coffee in the morning? It's kind of like that. A reversal could indicate a blockage of the energy and maybe something within you that needs healing or addressing. What needs attention? It's kind of like when I talked about the energetic dams. You know, sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
have that within us, and that's blocking us from receiving. And it could also, a reversal could speak to how the energy is going to show up in your life. Not everything shows up visibly or tangibly or on the external stage. A reversal could simply mean the energy is going to be more inward focus, maybe a shift in your emotional state or your energetic state or your spiritual state, but maybe something only you notice and that other people may not be able to see.
Mm.
I think with reversals, there's this assumption that it's like the opposite, literal opposite meaning, and that
Yeah.
it's automatically negative. And that isn't how I experience reversals. So I just wanted to share a couple of those. With the magician specifically, a reversal could mean that you're disconnected from your personal power or your creativity. You're feeling blocked. Maybe in your mind, you are housing limiting beliefs, self sabotage, self doubt, or there's some kind of suppression of your natural gifts and your talents. Maybe there's fear. And again, this is Mercury's realm. So this is usually going to be, and these things are thoughts in our mind. And this is Mercury's realm. So looking at what in our mind could be blocking us. Like I said before, this could be the negative, quote unquote, negative connotation of manipulation, more in line with trickery. You may be trying too hard to control or manipulate your external world. So if you aren't maybe letting the universe co create with you, you're trying to take matters into your own hands, trying to do too much. Maybe you're not using all of your tools, resources, or technology wisely, or using everything available to you. And lastly, you could be wasting resources, time, or energy. You could be forcing an outcome, and a reversal could be saying you need to redirect the flow of your energy. So this reminds me again of like, if I'm trying to think too hard about something or force it or rush it, I need to redirect my energy and take myself outside.
Yes. And in my Secrets of the Witch's Garden, she has questions there to write the reversal with this card. Ask yourself, what am I here to do? That's when we have to get real with ourselves and focus. I mentioned earlier about how much I just love this card. It's associated with Gemini. I've always kind of seen it as a Gemini card, but it's a Mercury card. This is one of the first cards I have ever had a personal connection to, and one of the first cards I ever researched. It's not the first card I ever drew or the first card I ever like saw. I have another card that was, but the having all the tools, like having all the other suits there, I'm drawn to the yellow energy and the name of it being the magician. Also, I've been connected to the Ouroboros and that renewal energy for several years since I was like in the middle of my yoga journey. So everything about this card, I was like Mercury, Gemini, air, snakes, manifestation, intention work, red roses, which are my birth flower. I was like, this card is me. This is my card. So when I get it in readings, not that often though. Like it's not one of the cards I get to tell me what's going on. This would be a card I feel like I would pull to help me organize my thoughts and help me organize what I'm here to do. And then I would like to like take this card, put it inside my shirt or put it inside my book, and whenever I look at it, remind myself, what are you doing? How are you using your skills and tools and abilities? And what are you creating? What are you manifesting? But yeah, I love this card. It's one of my cards. Do we need to do a podcast on our cards? Like our cards? Do you have your cards?
Not not really, I would say. There's some that like will recur if I'm like going
Mm-hmm.
through something or ignoring something as I normally do, because the universe has to try multiple times to get my attention and communicate a message. Um, but it would be fun to look at our cards
Mm-hmm.
through the angle of like our birth chart related
Yes.
cards.
Yeah. And
Because I
I
think
didn't know
with
that.
this being a Gemini card, like that very much is like your energy, you know?
But I didn't know that. I didn't know about the astrological association. In my head, I didn't know that they were even related. I just really liked this card. And then one of the first cards I ever drew in a tarot workshop that actually meant something to me was actually the Nine of Swords, which is also a Gemini card. But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that. But I can make a list of 5 cards that are my cards that I have like a connection with. Not the ones that I get in readings, but the ones that are like my favorites. Could you do that? Could you make a list of 5 of your favorites? I say I could, but I bet you if I actually sat down and did it, I would have too many.
I do feel like as a Leo, I do have to make honorable mention that the infinity symbol does appear on the strength card as well.
I have for our message from the universe. I am using the most fun deck and interesting deck I have found this year, the Gypsy Witch fortune telling playing cards. I have 4 cards because the meanings of these are very short. And since we are talking about the elements a lot lately, I feel like maybe we should have 4 for the 4 elements. So you can align these all for you, or you can choose one for your message today. Are you ready?
I just had a thought of which number I would choose, and then I and then I had a thought, I'm gonna go with it if it's up on the clock, and the clock reads 1243, so that didn't really help.
I guess it's all 4 for you. And if we were doing the elements, uh it would be air, earth. No. Sorry, y'all. It would be fire, earth, air, water. That's the order that we go with the zodiac. But anyway, 4 cards, listeners, whatever you want. First card, 2 of clubs. It's number 46. The railroad forecasts a long journey. If near 44, a serious accident. If near 29, a robbery. So let's see what other cards come out. Second card, the 7 of spades. Card number 25. Clouds with the dark side towards the person indicates divorce. The bright side towards the person ensures domestic happiness. Hmm. So you'll have to see, listeners, when you look at this card when we post it. Card number 3, the Jack of Clubs, number 45. The order denotes honor and recognition of labor, near 48. Okay, the order denotes honor and recognition of labor, near 48. Sure sign of business success. Fourth card, the 7 of Hearts. This is card number 21. The stork denotes change of residence for the better, sooner or later, according to the distance which it lies from the person. All right, listeners, when you look at these cards on our social media page, you'll kind of have to assess which cards are closest to you, which cards are further away, and what's facing you. But these cards are fascinating and historical. And I think we're barely scratching the surface in understanding this deck. We'll have to do a whole podcast on this deck.
Well, next week we start Libra season,
Mm-hmm.
and we start Libra with the Justice card.
Thank you for listening to this episode. The Radical Podcast is created and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music. Stay in touch with us at linktr.ee/theradicalpodnc.